My check for the cattle that I took to the market did come in yesterday. And so before I talk about money here in a second, I just want to, well, I'm just going to be upfront and honest, right? So I'm not saying this to be arrogant. I'm just saying, like, if somebody asks me, right, like me, the only thing that I'm really going to know is my life and what I've seen. Like, if somebody asks me, how to do this, right? Like, how do you do this, right? 15 hours a day for 15 years. That's realistically the answer. And if you don't want to hear the realistic answer, then, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Then don't ask what it took for me to do this, right? Because if I'm going to be honest and just be upfront, right? What is the big, who knows what is the biggest, but one of the big factors that allowed me to do this was that I committed myself to it for so long, for so long, every single day, for such a long period of time. That is one of the biggest factors. Because at the end of the day, if someone gave me $10 billion, I could still not farm. Money, at the end of the day, it has to be the individual has to develop into a farmer to farm. At the end of the day, money is not going to change that. You know, like if I gave somebody $10 billion right now, they would not magically show up on a field and start making money. They just would not. That's not how the world works. And if somebody if somebody genuinely wants to know what it took for me to do this, all I'm going to know is my life. And I'm just going to be honest. 15 hours a day for 15 years. That's the big how did I get here? That's the answer, the big answer. And okay, when I talk about money, I make estimates, right? And I make estimates, and from, me as an individual, like, it's not like I'm retired, right? Like, I'm not making these videos after retirement. It's not like I'm retired and I'm looking to coach people. That's not where I am, right? I'm in the middle of my career, and I do this every single day, right? That is my background. Like, I'm not here to be, someone's coach. I'm not here to be someone's friend. I'm not here to give anybody any advice. I'm just here to show people what I do. Because at the end of the day, from what I have seen, people will say one thing, but they will mean another. If they actually had the possibility to make more money, they would be very happy. Most people would be. Granted that a lot of people, and this is the honesty part, a lot of people have a lot of problems. And if they have money, their problems will get worse. So I'm not going to say money will make people happy, but if you have the character and you're already just kind of, you're already just kind of you have the character and you're not going to ruin your life. A lot of people, they will ruin their lives. You give them some money and they will ruin their lives. That is the honesty portion of this whole part. They will say one thing, and then they will their rational being will say something else, right? Oh, now I should go and buy myself this new truck. Oh, now I should, because me, like, when people look at me, it's very, like, even if I didn't say anything, if I just sat out here and I farmed, it doesn't take but 3 seconds for someone to look over here and go, oh my God, this is probably the greatest farm I've ever seen, right? One of the greatest farms I've ever seen. It doesn't take a lot, right? I mean, because people, they just know. I mean, people are going to know. Even if I didn't say anything, people are going to know, right? Like, people will just know. I mean, it's not like people just walk around dumb, deaf, and blind everywhere they go, right? People drive around and they go around the corner, and then they go 5 towns away, and then they go 10 towns away, and then they go 3 states over, then they go, wherever they may be going. People, when they go around, they're gonna see. And that's one of my big reasons for, I think one of my big reasons for me doing this is because everyone's gonna know anyway, and so I may as well just talk about my life, right? Everyone's gonna know anyway. You can't hide in the tall grass, right? That's what I always say. You can't hide in the tall grass. Everyone's gonna know. It doesn't matter what it is, everybody's gonna know. And so one of the big reasons for why I make estimates is that when I make estimates, the results should be somewhere in the estimate if I am thinking correctly. Like me, like if I talk to somebody, right? If I talk to somebody for 5 seconds, they will usually give themselves away very rapidly, right? Like if I talk to somebody and they said that they don't have a plan, well, that's probably enough for me, right? I should probably just walk away from this conversation, because that's not good. Like if you don't have a plan, you don't have a direction, is what you're telling me. Like you don't know where you're going. You're just gonna stand exactly where you are, right? That's your plan. And a lot of these things, well, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Yesterday I got my check, and I'm gonna say this up front, real fast. For a while now, I've been saying that the average weight of my herd is 700 to 750 pounds, and I anticipate that I'm gonna make somewhere between $5,000 to $5,500, right? And yesterday I got my check, and it was $5,400, and the animal's average weight came in at 730 pounds. And I made $1.93 a pound or something like that. And so I made $5,400. And so I was spot on my estimates, right? And I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm just saying that my estimates were correct. And a lot of times when I'm doing, especially if I'm going to do things to a professional level, like to a level where it's like, I should have an idea of what is going on, right? I should have an idea. Like, it's not just like I just show up one day and then it's like all this stuff just falls out of the abyss, and it's like, boom, now it lands on my, that's not how things work. Things, you should have a direction and an idea of what is happening, right? Ultimately, you should. And so yesterday, that's how much money I made, and my estimates were spot on. My cattle were 730 pounds, and I made $1.93 a pound, and my check after commissions was $5,390. And so, like this month, I did not do very well for myself, right? I did not do very well for myself, and I still managed to make almost $9,000, genuinely. I have an excess of like $4,000. Like $3,000-$4,000, and this next month, after I filed my taxes, I'm genuinely gonna make my estimates are gonna be like are about $15,000-$16,000, and that's just from money that is being made from my business plan. That's not even my cattle. That is money that I'm making from my business plan. And so next month, my net income, my net profit is, the amount of money that I'm just putting in my bank is gonna be like 12 grand, genuinely. 10, 12 grand. And so, well, I mean, like, I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm just saying that this is the reality of my life, right? I'm just sitting here being honest, because it's not like I'm retired, right? I'm not retired. I'm not here to coach anybody. I've said it repeatedly that I'm not going to save anybody. And if anybody wants to do this, you're going to have to save yourself, because that's how I made it, right? At the end of the day, that's how I made it. And so that's the biggest thing that had an influence on me was that, in me, I don't believe that God just hands people stuff. Me, I think that if you stand up and you go and do something, if you stick yourself to something, even though it's hard, you stick yourself to it, and you persevere, and you stay with it for 15 years, and you work on it for 15 hours a day, I believe at that point God will help you out. That is my belief on God. I do not believe that God just hands people stuff. I do not believe that. If I did not do anything, I do not think that God will just show up in my life and just hand me a field and just hand me cattle and just hand me a business plan. I don't think God will do that, personally. I think that if you want help from God, you need to stand up and do something. Personally, that's what I think. And a very realistic way to look at this for most people is that when I say a lot of people are morbidly obese, what I mean is that if you find someone who is like bedridden, they're so fat that they can't move, if you try and take their Twinkies away, they're gonna freak out. And that is what I mean by the damage has already been done. For most people, the damage has already been done, and it's just easier. It's more real. It's not even easier. It's more realistic, right? It's more realistic to find somebody that is not so severely damaged and to put them on the right path. It is much more realistic, because it's like, by the time it's like, maybe they're bedridden, right? They're super, super fat. They can't move. They're in their deathbed. And it's like, now it's like the chances of anybody showing up and actually saving that person, even through good advice, even through talking or whatever, you can hold their hand And the chances of you actually saving that person are almost zero. Almost zero. If you take their Twinkies away, they're gonna freak out, right? If you tell them to make a plan for themselves, if you tell them to make a plan for themselves and stick to it, they're gonna freak out, right? Real bad. I mean, they are practically beyond saving, and that is what I mean by a lot of people mentally. The damage has already been done. And ultimately, and I'm not saying this to be arrogant, but like me, like, you know, I had to work my whole life, right? I had to work my whole life, and it's like I finally got to a point where I can make myself about $15,000 a month, right? 15, you know, but when things, you know, I really want to get myself, one of my big goals for upcoming, you know, for coming up is I really want to get myself to the point where I'm making $40,000 a month. That's one of my big goals, right? One of my big, maybe a 1 to 2 year goals. It took me so long to get here, right? And now that I'm here, I can't unsee the things that I've seen. I've already seen what it looks like to make $30,000 a month in the cattle business, right? Genuinely, I've already seen it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so it's like I really want to get myself to a point where I'm making $40,000 a month, right? That's one of my big goals for me, for me as an individual. And I believe it will be very difficult, and I believe that it will be challenging, but I do believe that I am capable of doing it. 100%. And I think that's, you know, if you find somebody, okay, so here, let's take the idea of the mentally or the morbidly obese person, right? Let's say you got a person in a hospital, right? You got a person in a hospital, they are morbidly obese and they are dying from it. And the doctor shows up and says, this may, you know, if you don't start losing weight right now, you're gonna die, right? The chances of them actually losing weight very, very, very low. Very low. You know, the chances of them actually turning their life around, very low. The chances of them becoming the best, like now, you know, they went from being 600, 700 pounds to being like a world-class marathon runner. The chances of that happening, almost zero. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. The chances of them actually performing at the highest level is almost zero, right? And then let's actually take a look at this, right? Because it's like, if once the person is this far gone, once they are this far gone, they've already made horrible choices and they're already this far gone. Now you got to deal with, you know, let's say they're sitting in a hospital, right? And people like on the internet, they come up with all sorts of nonsense. Oh, imposter syndrome, right? Oh my God, imposter syndrome. Oh my God, I'm depressed. Oh my God, I'm sad, whatever it may be. Oh my God, you know, I'm unmotivated, right? What does any of that matter? Just go and do whatever you're supposed to do, right? Like, legitimately, go and find something to do. Like, you know, like when I listen to these things, it's like, you know, me personally, I do not feel any of these things to such a degree that it would stop me from doing what I need to do. None of these things. I don't feel like imposter syndrome. I don't feel you know, anxiety. I don't feel depression. I don't feel any of these things to such a degree that it stops me from doing what I need to do. Genuinely, I don't. And so maybe that, you know, maybe if somebody, you know, watches what I do, maybe that'll rub off on people, right? And, you know, I'm not saying this to be arrogant, but, you know, like me, I don't feel any need to give anybody even even 1 penny. You know, I may make all this money, right? I may make, you know, I'm not doing very good for myself, and I'm still bringing home like $15,000 a month, right? Not doing very good, and I still make close to $200,000 a year, right? Genuinely, or whatever. What's 15 times 12? I don't even know, right? 180,000, right? I'm not even doing very good for myself, and I make like $150,000, $200,000 a year. Still, even at this point, I would not give 1 penny to anybody. Genuinely would not. Genuinely, if someone, you know, I may not even help people for $5,000 a day. Genuinely. Maybe I would not, you know. I'm just be honest, and I don't feel like a dick for saying that, because it took me so long and it took me so much time to get here. Genuinely. And maybe, you know, it's like, because I don't know, maybe the things that I do will rub off on other people, right? And if, you know, and most people, I'm just going to be honest, like me, I'm not saying that I'm happy because I make $150,000 to $200,000 a year. I'm not saying that I'm happy because I'm saying that, you know, more realistically, I am happy because it is so hard to make that level of money. It is so difficult to make $150,000, $200,000 a year doing anything. It is so hard to make that much money, and I feel a sense of gratification from making that money because it is so difficult. That is what ultimately gives me, and I'm not saying that I'm happy. I don't really think that happiness is important. Genuinely, I don't think happiness is important. At the end of the day, you know, if I feel gratification, if I look at myself and I look at my field and I look at my cattle and I say, wow, I really do something, you know, that is what ultimately drives me to do the things that I think ultimately at the end of the day. And like, you know, a lot of people, they're going to say all sorts of nonsense, right? Oh, money's the root of all evil. Oh man, money won't make you happy. And it's like, well, you know, instead of thinking, and then they're going to, okay, and then here's the other part of it. And then they're going to turn around, right? They're going to say money doesn't make you happy. Money cannot buy you happiness, whatever they're going to say. And then they're going to turn around and then they're going to walk into their private space, right? They're going to go into their office and they're going to think about their life. Oh my God, how do I pay for this? Oh my God, I'm running out of money. Oh my God, you know, maybe we need to cut back on everything, right? Genuinely, that is how they're going to think. They're going to say one thing, but they're going to do another. Oh, money's not important. Oh, money's not going to buy you happiness. And then they're going to turn around and actually go into their lives. And when they go into their lives, they're going to be super stressed out. They're not going to know, you know, oh my God, you know, where are we going to get the money from? Oh my God, you know, how are we going to pay for this? Oh man, maybe we need to cut back on everything. That is genuinely what is good for most people. And I, you know, I'm not saying that to be a dick, but a lot of people, if they say money's not going to buy you happiness, you should be very careful around these people. Not careful, but you should take a good look at these people, because most of the time they are not actually walking the talk. Most of the time they're just talking. They're not actually walking, right? They're just talking. Because if you ask someone like me, someone who genuinely does something that is almost incredibly difficult, it is so hard that almost nobody can do it. And I managed to make $15,000, $20,000 a month, right? Or excuse me, I managed to make $150,000, $100,000, $200,000 a year. I managed to make that kind of money. I'm gonna straight up just tell you, yes, I am happy. I'm gonna tell you, money. Well, happiness is not important to me, right? Happiness is not important to me. I do things that are important. That is what ultimately drives me to, you know, because at the end of the day, the amount of beef that I produce, it has a direct correlation with how much money is in my bank account, right? And so if I have a lot of money in my bank account, that must be a very good thing for society, because I've produced a lot of beef for society, right? That is how I look at it. At the end of the day, there is a direct correlation between how much beef I produce and how much money is in my bank account. And so if there's a lot of money in my bank account, people should be happy. I should be, you know, people should be very, oh my God, this is fantastic. We should funnel as much money as we possibly can, right? People, that is how they should ultimately think, because if there is a direct correlation between how much food I produce and how much money there is in my bank account, it would be very good for me to have a lot of money in my bank account, because I'm producing a lot of food, right? Let's just be honest. And so, you know, I don't think happiness is very important. Not at all. I do things that are important, and that is gratifying. That is enough gratification for me. You know, and if you find somebody, right, if you find somebody who's and if you are morbidly obese, right, and you turn yourself around and you even manage to lose just a few 100 pounds, that's fantastic. I'm very happy for you. I would like for you, you know, it would be great if you continue to do better for yourself. That is what I would like to say. I'm not picking on morbidly obese people. I'm just using it as an analogy. But it's like when I see some people, when I listen to what some people say, like especially on the internet and stuff, because people are gonna say all sorts of stuff. Oh my God, you know, I'm lonely, I'm depressed. Oh my God, you know, I'm stressed out about money. What do I do, right? You know, me, I'm none of those things. Genuinely none of those things. I would rather focus my energy on just, you know, getting stuff done, right? Honestly. And it's like when I watch some of these people, it's like, you know, it's like I always think about the morbidly obese analogy, and I'm not saying this to make fun of morbidly obese people. But it's like, you know, if you can't run, right? If you can't even slowly jog, if you can't even stand up, you can still do something, right? You can like grab an exercise band and do exercise band workouts, right? You can grab 1 pound dumbbells, right? You can grab 1 pound dumbbells, and you can exercise with those, right? And it does not matter what you do, as long as you know, if you work out, if you exercise, if you not even work out, if you stick yourself to your goal for 3 hours a day for 10 years straight, chances are there is almost a granted that you are not drastically mentally or physically you know, for most people, if you just stick yourself to a goal for 3 hours a day for 10 years straight, chances are you are going to make it to the top 1%. With the top 1%, even if you are morbidly obese, you could end up in the top 1% of fitness people. Genuinely, you could end up in the top 1% of the fitness people, just by putting in 3 hours of effort a day for 10 years straight. Genuinely. You know, and it's like, if you can't get up out of bed, and if you can't jog or whatever it may be, go and do something, right? Don't just sit there and give up. Like, you know, a lot of people, if they knew what I started with, they would be horrified, right? Oh my God, you know, this guy started with a bag of chicken manure and a shovel, and he used to urinate into a bucket every day for 3 years straight, so that he would have nitrogen fertilizer to put on his plants so that he could collect data, right? People would not just wake up and do something. Genuinely go and do something. It does not matter what it is, right? And it's like, oh my God, you know, I used to show up at Home Depot on every single day at the beginning of spring so that I could buy fertilizer from last year's stock at 90% discount, right? Genuinely. You know, find some way, right? Find some way. Find something to do. And it does not matter what people think, right? Like, if, you know, let's take the homeless, or not the homeless, the morbidly obese person, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, if someone does not think very highly of me, right? If someone does not think very highly of me, and I'm sitting here talking about my life and the things that I've done and how I make $15,000-$20,000 a month objectively, just trust me, right? My life will go on. My heart will go on. You know that song, whatever, from the Titanic? My heart will go on. Trust me, I'll be just fine. I don't really care. You know, the opinions of others glance off of me so fast that it would make most people go, oh my God, you know, I can't believe it just glanced off of them like that. Because a lot of people, the opinions of other people shake them up so bad. Shake them up so bad. Oh my God, if I did this, I'm gonna look like I'm a moron, right? Oh my God, if I did this, I'm gonna look pathetic, right? Oh, so I should just not do it. Me, I don't go through none of that. Me, I have my goal and I go for it no matter what. Even if I have to urinate into a bucket every day for 3 years straight. Genuinely, if all I have is $10, then I'm going to invest that $10. I'm going to go and buy myself a sack of chicken manure. Genuinely, that is how I think. And, you know, maybe, you know, that will rub off on people. And that is what ultimately got me here after 15 years. And it's like, now at this point, now, you know, I make $150,000, $200,000 a year. I would not give away 1 penny to anybody. And if someone's idea is that, oh, now that he's made it, now that he's worked 15 hours a day for 15 years straight, now that he's made it, he should give away everything he's worked for, you're a communist. And I don't really care what you think. Genuinely. That is ridiculous. And, you know, that is not the world that we should be heading towards. I should not have to work 15 hours a day for 15 years straight to just show up, and for people to show up at the very end and just demand everything from me for free. That is ridiculous. But at the end of the day, you know, me, I'm not retired, right? I'm genuinely in the middle of my career. I'm in my low 30s, and I finally found a way to make it, right? Genuinely, I finally found a way. That is my background. You know, I'm not here to save people. I'm not going to coach anybody. I'm not going to hold anybody's hand. If you want the genuine truth, right? You're going to have to take the entirety of the situation for what it is. You cannot pick and choose the things that you want. And me, I made it on my own. I do 5 jobs on my own. I take care of the cattle on my own. I collect soil data on my own. I grow my own grass. I invest in my own commodities. I create my own business plans. have my own, create my own investment portfolios. I'm a one-man team right now, and that, the reason that is that way is because that was what it took for me to make it. Granted, in the future, maybe I would not be, I don't know. Genuinely, I don't know. But I think that with my, when I just look at my life and I just look at the things that I do on a daily basis, just me as an individual, I do think that I have the capacity to run about 500 cattle a year by myself. When I just look at my work ethic and I look at the things that I do believe that I have the capacity to run about 500 cattle a year by myself. And I think that I genuinely, up to about $500,000 a year, I probably genuinely could probably do it by myself. I genuinely, 99.999% of it, I genuinely probably could do it by myself. Whether it be growing the grass, running the cattle, taking care of the cattle, investing in my commodities, investment portfolio ideas, stuff like that. I could probably do up to about $500,000 a year. I could probably do it by myself. When I just look at the things that I do on a daily basis, because this is my whole life, right? This is genuinely my whole life. If I didn't have farming, I don't know what I would do. And objectively, I'm not saying this to show off, and I'm just being as honest as I can. Realistically, if you get to a point where you're making an excess of $7,000-8,000 a month, like let's say you buy everything you want, right? You buy everything you want, you pay for everything. Granted that you don't have some major problem. You don't have some major problem, like you're not addicted to spending money. You don't just want crazy stuff. Like if you want to buy yourself a nice truck and you want to live in a decent house and whatever it may be, right? And you just want to make sure that you have enough money. If you make an excess of $7,000 to $8,000 a month, let's say that your living expenses are $4,000 a month, right? Let's say after you paid for your mortgage, after you paid for everything you wanted, let's say you paid for everything you wanted, you paid for your mortgage, you paid for your truck, you paid for your bills, and let's say that came out to be about $4,000 or $4,500 a month, and you still have $7,000 to $8,000 left over. Just going into your bank account. You're saving about 70% of the money that you make. At that point, it's practically unlimited money. Unlimited money. You can do whatever you want. If you want to go and buy something, like if I want to go and buy a gun, right? I'll just go and buy it. I have so many guns now. It's like, I have like 5-6 guns now. I'm probably not going to buy any more guns, right? I'm probably, I look at my gun collection and it's like, man, I bought the best of the best. Legitimately bought the top of the market, and my guns are very nice. I'm not gonna want anything else, right? Genuinely, at that point, it's just like, well, I've got super nice stuff. I don't, I'm not gonna go and just buy something. Once you have about $7,000-8,000 left over every month, it is practically unlimited money. You do not need $1 million. You do not need $10 million. If you just have an excess of even $5,000, if you make $5,000 more than you spend on a daily, monthly, weekly basis, if you have $5,000 left over just going into your bank account every month, if you have $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 left over every single month just going into your bank account, it's unlimited money. Unlimited money. You can do whatever you want. You don't need $10 million. You don't need $1 million. You don't even need $100,000. If you just genuinely find a way to make yourself an extra $7,000, $8,000 a month, it's practically unlimited money. Unlimited money. But that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.